The sun was setting over the bustling city, casting a golden glow on the towering glass windows of the newly opened luxury hotel. Olivia Carter stood outside, taking in the sight of her dream finally coming to life. For years she had worked tirelessly, climbing the corporate ladder, saving every penny and risking everything, to build something that would leave a lasting legacy. And now, here it was. The Carter Hotel, a stunning 5-star property nestled in the heart of downtown. Olivia wasn't just another business owner, she was a trailblazer. Growing up in a modest neighborhood, she had faced more than her fair share of challenges. But instead of letting those struggles hold her back, they fueled her determination. She poured her soul into this project, ensuring every detail, from the plush velvet furniture to the hand-painted murals adorning the walls, spoke of elegance and care. This hotel wasn't just a building, it was a reflection of who she was. Strong, resilient, and unapologetically ambitious. Tonight marked the grand opening, an event Olivia had been planning for months. The guest list read like a who's who of society. Celebrities, politicians, entrepreneurs, and journalists were all invited to witness the birth of what she hoped would become a staple of luxury hospitality. Outside, valets rushed to park expensive cars as guests arrived wearing their finest attire. Inside, crystal chandeliers sparkled above marble floors, and live music filled the air, creating an atmosphere of opulence and excitement. As Olivia walked through the lobby, she couldn't help but feel a swell of pride. Every corner of the hotel told a story: the rich mahogany woodwork imported from Italy, the rare orchids placed strategically around the space, the custom-designed rugs that added a touch of warmth. She stopped by the concierge desk to check if everything was running smoothly. Her team assured her that all systems were go, and the kitchen staff reported that the hors d'oeuvres were ready to be served. Everything seemed perfect, or so she thought. But behind the glitz and glamour, there was tension brewing among some members of the staff. While most employees admired Olivia's vision and leadership, a small group harbored resentment. They whispered cruel jokes about having to take orders from someone like her. Their words carried undertones of prejudice, though no one dared say anything outright. These murmurs went unnoticed by Olivia, who trusted her team implicitly. After all, she had personally interviewed many of them, believing she had assembled a group of professionals dedicated to excellence. Dressed in a sleek black gown, Olivia mingled with her guests, exchanging pleasantries and posing for photos. She radiated confidence, smiling brightly as people complimented her on the hotel's beauty. Yet amidst the laughter and clinking glasses, a nagging feeling lingered at the back of her mind. Something felt off. Perhaps it was the way certain staff members avoided making eye contact when she passed by, or how quickly conversations halted whenever she approached. At the time, she brushed it off as pre-event jitters. After all, managing such a high-profile gathering was bound to cause stress. Little did Olivia know, the real storm was yet to come. As the evening wore on, she decided to slip away from the crowd for a moment of quiet. Changing out of her formal gown into something more comfortable, a simple yet stylish blouse and trousers, she made her way to the hotel's restaurant area. It was supposed to be a quick visit, just to ensure everything was running smoothly. What happened next would shake her to her core and change the course of her life forever. The restaurant buzzed with activity, waiters weaving between tables laden with gourmet dishes. Guests laughed and chatted animatedly, oblivious to the turmoil brewing beneath the surface. Olivia approached the bar, intending to order a drink before heading back upstairs. But what unfolded in those few minutes would expose deep-seated biases and force her to confront the harsh realities of discrimination, even within her own establishment. Olivia approached the bar with a calm demeanor, her mind still preoccupied with thoughts of the evening's success. She scanned the room briefly, taking in the lively chatter and clinking glasses. The restaurant was bustling, filled with guests, enjoying the culinary delights prepared by the hotel's renowned chefs. It was exactly the scene she had envisioned when she first dreamed of owning this place, a blend of sophistication and warmth, where people could feel welcomed and indulged. She leaned slightly against the polished mahogany counter, catching the bartender's eye as he moved briskly behind the bar. He was busy pouring drinks for a group of well-dressed patrons seated nearby, their laughter echoing through the space. Olivia waited patiently, observing the rhythmic motion of his hands as he expertly mixed cocktails. When there was finally a lull in his tasks, she smiled politely and said, "Excuse me, could I get a glass of your house red wine?" Her voice was soft but clear, carrying just enough authority to command attention. Yet instead of responding, the bartender simply glanced at her before turning away without a word. At first, Olivia thought perhaps he hadn't heard her over the din of conversation and music. She tried again, raising her tone slightly. "Hello, I'd like a glass of red wine, please." This time, the bartender paused mid-pour, his expression unreadable. For a fleeting moment, their eyes met, and Olivia noticed something unsettling, a flicker of disdain that made her stomach tighten. Without saying a word, he turned his back on her completely, attending to another customer who had walked up moments later. A young couple standing beside Olivia exchanged puzzled looks but said nothing. Minutes ticked by, and Olivia remained rooted to the spot, her initial patience giving way to confusion and then frustration. Around her, other guests continued to receive prompt service. The bartender effortlessly juggled orders, chatting amiably with patrons and even cracking jokes. But whenever Olivia attempted to catch his attention again, he either ignored her or pretended to be engrossed in some menial task, wiping down already spotless counters or rearranging bottles unnecessarily. Finally, unable to contain herself any longer, Olivia stepped closer to the bar, her voice firmer now. "Excuse me?" she said, tapping lightly on the surface to ensure she wasn't overlooked. "I've been waiting here for quite some time. Could you please serve me?" The bartender stopped what he was doing and turned toward her slowly, his lips curling into a sneer. In a tone dripping with condescension, he replied, "We don't serve people like you here." His words hung in the air like a dark cloud, silencing the hum of activity around them. For a split second, Olivia felt as though the ground beneath her feet had shifted. Her heart pounded in her chest and heat rushed to her cheeks. People nearby turned to look, their expressions ranging from shock to discomfort. "People like me?" Olivia repeated, her voice steady despite the storm of emotions swirling inside her. She locked eyes with the bartender, searching for any sign of remorse or hesitation. Instead, she found only defiance. The man crossed his arms over his chest, his posture dismissive, as if daring her to challenge him further. Behind him, a few other staff members lingered near the kitchen entrance, pretending to busy themselves, with trays and napkins. But Olivia could see the smirks tugging at their lips, the subtle nods they exchanged as they watched the confrontation unfold. It was as though they were silently egging the bartender on, reveling in his audacity. For a moment, Olivia considered making a scene, demanding answers, calling out the blatant discrimination, but something held her back. This was her hotel after all, her grand opening night. Hundreds of guests were mingling upstairs, unaware of the ugliness unfolding below. To cause a disturbance now would not only embarrass her but also tarnish the reputation of the very establishment she had worked so hard to create. So swallowing her anger, she took a step back, her jaw clenched tightly. As she moved away from the bar, Olivia's mind raced. How could this happen? In her hotel? Hadn't she hired these people based on their qualifications and professionalism? What kind of prejudice had festered unnoticed under her nose? Each question gnawed at her, fueling a mix of disbelief and indignation. She needed answers, and justice. But not here, not now. Not while the world was watching. With one last glance at the bartender, who had already resumed serving others as though nothing had happened, Olivia turned and walked briskly toward the elevators. Her heels clicked sharply against the marble, floor echoing her resolve. Whatever came next, she knew one thing for certain. This incident would not go unanswered. By the time Olivia reached her office on the top floor, her mind was a whirlwind of emotions, anger, disbelief, and a deep sense of betrayal. She closed the door behind her with a soft click, leaning against it for a moment as she tried to steady her breathing. The room was dimly lit, its elegant furnishings casting long shadows in the low light. Her desk sat neatly organized, a stark contrast to the chaos brewing inside her. For a brief moment, she considered letting the incident go, pretending it hadn't happened. After all, confronting it meant risking exposure, drama, and potential backlash during what was supposed to be the most important night of her career. But Olivia wasn't one to shy away from challenges or injustices. Taking a deep breath, she pulled out her phone and dialed Marcus, her trusted assistant and right-hand man. Marcus had been with her since the early days of planning the hotel, and his loyalty was unwavering. Within minutes, he arrived at her office, his face etched with concern. "Olivia, is everything okay?" he asked, closing the door behind him. She hesitated for a moment, then recounted the humiliating encounter at the bar. As she spoke, her voice trembled with a mix of frustration and hurt. Marcus listened intently, his expression growing darker with each word. When she finished, there was a heavy silence between them. Finally, Marcus broke it, his tone firm but reassuring. "We can't let this slide, Olivia. This isn't just about you. It's about setting an example for everyone who works here." With Marcus by her side, Olivia made her way back downstairs. By now, the initial shock had given way to determination. If the staff thought they could treat anyone, let alone the owner, with such blatant disrespect, they were sorely mistaken. They stopped briefly in the lobby, where Marcus flagged down the manager on duty, a middle-aged man named Richard. He was pacing nervously near the concierge desk, clearly stressed from overseeing the grand opening event. "Richard," Olivia began, her voice calm but commanding, "we need to talk." Richard turned to face her, his brow furrowed in confusion. "Of course, Miss Carter. Is something wrong?" Olivia wasted no time getting to the point. "I was refused service at the bar tonight by one of your staff members. Not only that, but I was treated with outright hostility." Richard's eyes widened in disbelief. "Refused service? That's impossible. Our team knows better than—" "It happened," Olivia interrupted, her tone leaving no room for argument. "And I want answers. Right now." Richard stammered, clearly unprepared for this revelation. He glanced around nervously, as if hoping someone would step in to save him from the situation. But Olivia wasn't about to let him off the hook. "Who is the bartender working tonight?" she demanded. Richard hesitated before answering. "It's, Jason. He's relatively new, but he came highly recommended." Olivia nodded sharply. "Take us to him. Now." Without waiting for a response, she headed toward the restaurant area, Marcus and Richard trailing behind her like nervous shadows. When they arrived at the bar, Jason was still hard at work, chatting amiably with a group of guests. Olivia stepped forward, her presence immediately drawing attention. Jason looked up and froze, his smile faltering when he saw her. For a split second, panic flashed across his face, but he quickly masked it with feigned nonchalance. "Can I help you?" he asked, his tone deliberately casual. "You certainly didn't earlier," Olivia replied, her voice icy. Jason blinked, clearly caught off guard. Before he could respond, Olivia continued, "Do you know who I am?" Jason frowned, glancing uncertainly at Richard, who stood silently nearby. "No, ma'am. Should I?" Olivia stared at him for a long moment, her gaze piercing. Then, without breaking eye contact, she said, "I'm Olivia Carter, the owner of this hotel." The words hung in the air like a thunderclap. Jason's mouth opened slightly, but no sound came out. Around them, the hum of conversation faded as nearby guests realized something significant was unfolding. For a moment, the entire room seemed to hold its breath. Jason's face flushed red. Whether from embarrassment or fear, it was hard to tell. "Miss Carter, I didn't realize," he stammered, his voice trembling. "I swear if I'd known—" "That doesn't matter," Olivia cut him off, her voice rising slightly. "What matters is how you treated a guest, a paying customer in my establishment. You judged me based on nothing more than your own prejudices, and that is unacceptable." The weight of her words settled over the crowd. Some guests exchanged horrified glances, while others nodded approvingly, murmuring their support for Olivia. Jason looked around desperately, searching for allies but found none. Even Richard, who had initially seemed reluctant to intervene, now appeared visibly ashamed of the behavior displayed by his subordinate. Olivia turned to Richard, her expression stern. "This kind of behavior has no place here. None whatsoever. Effective immediately, Jason is terminated. And you," she added, pointing at Richard, "will oversee a full investigation into any other incidents of discrimination within this hotel. I won't tolerate racism or prejudice under my roof, not today, not ever." Richard nodded vigorously, his earlier hesitation replaced by urgency. "Yes, Ms. Carter. Absolutely. I'll handle it personally." As Jason was escorted away, the atmosphere in the restaurant shifted dramatically. Guests began whispering among themselves, some expressing outrage over the incident while others praised Olivia for handling the situation so decisively. Word spread quickly throughout the hotel, reaching even the ears of VIPs attending the gala upstairs. Social media buzzed with speculation as attendees posted updates, tagging Olivia and sharing snippets of the confrontation. Later that evening, after the dust had settled, Olivia retreated to her office once again. This time, however, she felt a renewed sense of purpose. What had started as a humiliating encounter had transformed into an opportunity, a chance to set things right and make a statement. Racism and prejudice weren't just problems outside her hotel, they existed within its walls too. But Olivia was determined to root them out, no matter how uncomfortable or challenging it might be. As she sat at her desk, staring out at the glittering city skyline, Olivia realized that this moment would define her legacy. She could either let it break her or use it to create real lasting change. And Olivia Carter wasn't the type to back down from a fight. The days following the incident at the grand opening were a whirlwind of activity for Olivia Carter. News of the confrontation spread like wildfire, both within the hotel and beyond its walls. Social media erupted with posts about the event, some condemning the discriminatory behavior, while others praised Olivia for standing up against it. Journalists began reaching out, eager to hear her side of the story. Overnight, the Carter Hotel became the center of a national conversation about race, privilege, and accountability in the workplace. Olivia knew she couldn't afford to stay silent. This wasn't just about her. It was about sending a message that discrimination had no place in society, especially not in an establishment she had built from scratch. Sitting in her office late one night, she drafted a public statement. It was concise but powerful, addressing the incident directly without shying away from the truth. In it, she condemned racism in all its forms and vowed to take action to ensure such behavior never occurred again under her watch. She also announced immediate changes to the hotel's policies, including mandatory diversity training for all staff members and a zero-tolerance policy for discriminatory actions. When the statement went live the next morning, the response was overwhelming. Many applauded Olivia's transparency and courage, calling her a role model for leadership and integrity. Others, however, criticized her decision to fire Jason so swiftly, arguing that he deserved a second chance. But Olivia stood firm. "This isn't about revenge," she told Marcus during a private meeting. "It's about setting boundaries and protecting the values this hotel stands for." True to her word, Olivia wasted no time implementing sweeping reforms. She partnered with local organizations specializing in diversity and inclusion to design comprehensive training programs for her employees. These sessions weren't just lectures, they were interactive workshops designed to foster empathy, understanding, and respect among team members. Topics ranged from unconscious bias to cultural sensitivity, ensuring that every staff member, from housekeeping to management, understood their role in creating an inclusive environment. In addition to training, Olivia introduced new hiring practices aimed at increasing diversity within the hotel. She worked closely with recruitment agencies to identify candidates from underrepresented communities, offering internships and mentorship opportunities to young people seeking careers in hospitality. Her goal was simple: to create a workforce that reflected the rich tapestry of cultures and backgrounds found in the city itself. But Olivia didn't stop there. Determined to turn the negative experience into something positive, she launched an initiative called Inclusion First. The program focused on promoting equality not only within the hotel, but also in the broader community. Through partnerships With local charities and advocacy groups, the Carter Hotel began hosting events celebrating Black history, women's empowerment, and LGBTQ+ rights. Each month, a portion of the hotel's profits was donated to causes aligned with these themes, further solidifying Olivia's commitment to making a difference. As weeks turned into months, the impact of Olivia's efforts became undeniable. Guests noticed the shift immediately. From the moment they stepped inside, they were greeted by smiling faces that seemed genuinely happy to assist them. Staff interactions felt warmer, more authentic, like everyone truly cared about providing exceptional service. Even longtime customers remarked on how much the atmosphere had improved since the grand opening. Word-of-mouth praise led to glowing online reviews, boosting the hotel's reputation as a beacon of luxury and inclusivity. Media outlets took notice too. Articles praising Olivia's leadership appeared in major publications, highlighting her resilience and vision. One magazine even named her Entrepreneur of the Year, citing her ability to transform adversity into opportunity. Invitations poured in for speaking engagements, where Olivia shared her story and encouraged others to embrace change rather than fear it. Her message resonated deeply, inspiring countless individuals to confront prejudice in their own lives. Despite the accolades, Olivia remained grounded. She understood that true progress required constant effort and vigilance. Every week, she held meetings with department heads to discuss ongoing challenges and brainstorm solutions. Feedback from employees and guests alike was taken seriously, ensuring that the hotel continued to evolve in meaningful ways. When mistakes were made, and they inevitably were, Olivia addressed them head-on, using each setback as a learning opportunity. Perhaps the most rewarding aspect of Olivia's journey was seeing how her actions inspired those around her. Employees, who had initially been hesitant to speak out against discrimination, now felt empowered to do so. Some even formed committees dedicated to fostering inclusivity and supporting colleagues facing similar struggles. The sense of camaraderie grew stronger with each passing day, transforming what had once been a tense workplace into a supportive community united by shared values. By the 6-month mark, the Carter Hotel had become synonymous with excellence, not just in service but in ethics as well. It wasn't uncommon for visitors to comment on how welcome they felt, regardless of their background or appearance. Families celebrated milestones here, couples booked romantic getaways, and business travelers raved about the personalized attention they received. What started as a dream had evolved into something far greater, a symbol of hope, resilience, and unity. For Olivia, the transformation was deeply personal. While the incident at the bar had left her shaken, it had also strengthened her resolve. She realized that setbacks, no matter how painful, could be catalysts for growth, if approached with courage and conviction. And though she still encountered moments of doubt, she reminded herself of the bigger picture, a world where everyone, regardless of race, gender, or identity, could walk into any space and feel valued. As she prepared for the hotel's first anniversary celebration, Olivia reflected on how far she'd come. The road hadn't been easy, but every challenge had taught her something valuable. More importantly, it had reinforced her belief in the power of perseverance and purpose. With renewed determination, she looked ahead to the future, knowing that the best chapters of her story were yet to be written. Exactly 1 year after the grand opening of the Carter Hotel, Olivia stood on the same rooftop terrace where she had hosted her first gala. The evening air was crisp, carrying with it the faint scent of blooming flowers from the garden below. Soft jazz music played in the background, mingling with the sound of laughter and clinking glasses. Guests moved gracefully across the space, dressed in their finest attire, as waiters circulated with trays of champagne and hors d'oeuvres. Everything seemed perfect, just as Olivia had envisioned, but this time there was an unmistakable warmth in the atmosphere, a sense of belonging that hadn't been present before. Tonight wasn't just another celebration. It marked a full year since the incident at the bar, an event that had shaken Olivia to her core but ultimately transformed her life and her business. As she gazed out at the crowd, Olivia felt a deep sense of pride. Her hotel was no longer just a luxury destination. It had become a symbol of inclusivity, resilience, and hope. People from all walks of life filled the room, chatting animatedly and enjoying themselves without hesitation or fear of judgment. It was exactly what Olivia had dreamed of when she first conceived the idea of owning a hotel. But tonight held special significance beyond the anniversary. Earlier that day, Olivia had unveiled a plaque near the entrance of the hotel, dedicating the establishment to equality and respect for all. The inscription read, "In memory of struggles overcome and dreams realized, this hotel stands as a testament to inclusion, dignity, and unity for every guest, every employee, and every human being who walks through its doors." Dozens of staff members gathered around as Olivia spoke during the unveiling ceremony. She shared her story openly, recounting the painful night at the bar and how it had inspired her to make lasting changes. Her voice trembled slightly as she described the hurt she'd felt, but it grew stronger when she talked about the steps she had taken to ensure such an incident would never happen again. "This hotel is more than bricks and mortar," she said, her eyes scanning the faces of her team. "It's a place where everyone belongs, where we celebrate our differences instead of letting them divide us." The applause that followed was thunderous, heartfelt, and genuine. Many employees wiped away tears, not just because of Olivia's words, but because they saw themselves reflected in her vision. They had grown alongside her over the past year, learning to embrace diversity and treat each other and their guests with kindness and respect. Some even approached Olivia afterward to thank her personally, sharing stories of how the hotel's culture had changed their lives. One housekeeper recounted how she'd finally felt comfortable bringing her children to work events knowing they wouldn't face prejudice. A front desk clerk spoke about how the training sessions had helped him understand his own biases and become a better person. These moments reinforced Olivia's belief that change was possible, even in the unlikeliest of places. As the evening progressed, Olivia took a moment to step away from the festivities and reflect. Standing by the railing, she looked out over the glittering city skyline, her mind drifting back to the challenges she'd faced over the past year. There had been sleepless nights, difficult decisions, and moments when she questioned whether she was doing enough. But through it all, she had remained steadfast in her mission to create something meaningful. And now, seeing the joy and camaraderie among her guests and staff, she knew it had been worth every sacrifice. Her thoughts were interrupted by a familiar voice. Turning, she saw Marcus approaching, holding 2 glasses of sparkling wine. He handed one to her with a smile. "To a year well done," he said, raising his glass. Olivia chuckled softly, clinking her glass against his. "To many more," she replied. For a while they stood together in companionable silence, watching the party unfold below. Later that evening, Olivia addressed the gathered guests, taking the stage to deliver a heartfelt speech. She began by thanking everyone for being part of the hotel's journey, acknowledging the support of her staff, friends, and family. Then, she turned her attention to the larger message she wanted to convey. "When I started this hotel, my goal was simple: to create a space where people could feel welcomed and valued," she said, her voice steady and clear. "But along the way, I learned that achieving that goal requires more than beautiful decor or 5-star service. It requires courage, to face uncomfortable truths, to admit when things aren't working, and to take action to make them better." She paused, letting her words sink in. "What happened here a year ago was painful, not just for me, but for everyone who believes in fairness and equality. But pain can be a powerful teacher. It taught me that we have the power to choose how we respond to adversity. We can let it break us, or we can use it to build something stronger, something better." Olivia went on to describe the initiatives she had implemented: the diversity training, the partnerships with local organizations, the emphasis on hiring practices that prioritized inclusivity. She also announced plans to expand Inclusion First into a nationwide program, partnering with other hotels and businesses to promote equality across industries. The audience erupted into applause, clearly moved by her vision and determination. As the night drew to a close, Olivia found herself surrounded by well-wishers eager to congratulate her on the hotel's success. Among them were journalists who had covered her story throughout the year, Local leaders who admired her advocacy work, and even former critics who admitted they had underestimated her resolve. Each interaction reminded her of how far she had come, not just professionally but personally. Before leaving the rooftop terrace, Olivia stopped by the plaque once more. Running her fingers lightly over the engraved words, she smiled softly. This hotel wasn't just a monument to her hard work. It was a testament to the strength of the human spirit. It proved that even in the face of hatred and discrimination, love, compassion, and perseverance could prevail. As she descended the stairs to her private suite, Olivia felt a profound sense of peace. She knew there would always be challenges ahead. Racism and prejudice weren't problems that could be solved overnight. But she also knew that as long as people like her refused to stay silent, progress was inevitable. Lying in bed later that night, Olivia replayed the evening's events. In her mind, from the laughter of her guests to the heartfelt speeches of her staff, every moment had reinforced her belief in the power of community. She drifted off to sleep with a smile on her face, dreaming not of obstacles, but of possibilities. After all, the Carter Hotel wasn't just a building, it was a legacy. And Olivia Carter wasn't just a hotel owner. She was a trailblazer, paving the way for a brighter, more inclusive future.